Hey y'all, sorry I'm a couple minutes late. I was taking a phone call right quick. All right. Let me get all this crap up here. Hold on, give me 1 second. Okay, let me put that one up. Let me hit you with the 30 seconds. All right, we are ready to go. I'm not going to screw around too much this time. I'll just say hello right quick to everybody. Hey, Cash. Cash, Helen, Smiles, Daisy, Revival, Army Tanker's Wife, Cheese, Yuli Jade. Hey, Autumn, Marcy. All right, we are going to just jump into it and not waste any time because we've got so much to get through and I am so behind on all of this. So let's get it done. We are going to pick up where we left off. I'm going to restart the 4th victim statement just to kind of recap where we are. Part 1, we read through the first 3 and part of the 4th victim statements of the lawsuit that has been filed against Tim Ballard and OUR. So this is the first lawsuit that was filed. Just so everybody's understanding, there is a second one that we are going to get through in part 3. We will start with the opening part of the lawsuit, and then we will get into the statements with that one too, because it's a lot. The other thing that I am doing, just so you guys are aware, I am reading through. Oh, I forgot to send this to myself. Hold on. I forgot. I am going to start reading the Visions of Glory. I have never personally read it, the entire thing, but I'm going to actually read through the whole entire book to try and get some understanding, because that is being talked about. And if you don't know what that is a book that is well known and kind of links together. So the book it's a after-death experience that was written by another gentleman. It is the supposed firsthand accounts of this Tom Harrison, I think is his name. He's a well-known therapist in Utah, but it connects a lot of these extremists and these belief systems in with him. They've had some sort of connection, either with reading the book, having some sort of influence by him over their lives. So we're going to read it. I don't know if you guys want me to read it with you guys or if you want me to read it and then tell you what I think, but I am going to read the whole entire thing. I don't know how it will work, but we will see. Let me airdrop this to myself right quick. I got us a new button. I probably won't play it in this one just because of the fact that this is the victim statements and I don't really like being a smartass during those, but sorry, just a second. I gotta upload it. Okay, there's that. Let me put it in let me add it right quick if I can. Hey, Keke. Hi, buddy. Hi, buddy. He's like, I'm right here. Everybody's fine now. Ooh, it's loading right now. Kiki's in the house, so all is good. Come on, get on your blanket. You can't stand in my way. Maybe we should start off with me playing it. I'll give it a minute and I'll play it at the end. All right. Hey, Kathy P. Yeah, I did share it on my shorts last night too. I was loving it. So, all right, let's go ahead and hop into this just so everybody is aware. These are very triggering statements. These are the victims, the alleged victims. This is, again, a civil suit that was filed. It is not a criminal suit at this point in time. However, hopefully criminal charges will come eventually. I don't know the status of that. A criminal investigation does need to be done. So let's see here. We're going to start with the Exhibit E, Statement of HDT. Now, when I read through these, I'm on another screen, so I will check comments occasionally and pause as we go, as you guys know, if you've been here before and how we do this, and we will get through them. I apologize for my abrupt ending of last time. Family always will come first over here, so I needed to exit out and handle things, and we got a cattail now. All right, let's roll. Okay, Exhibit E. Statement of HDT. Hold on. Can you guys even see what's happening here? Keke, show your friends what you got. Can we stop now? This is what I fight every time. Just so you guys know what a menace he really is. He's not this cute little lovely cat that everybody thinks he is. He's a complete and utter menace. Oh my goodness, he won't stop. Buddy, come over here. Take a pencil and go over here. Get your pencil and stay away from me. Okay. Sorry, y'all. This is just like chaos. This is my life, as always. Okay. It starts off, statement of HDT. I was introduced to Tim Ballard by my friend, client CL. She is, I believe, a part owner in a local business establishment. She was pre-screening the movie The Sound of Freedom for OUR and Tim Ballard. One day when I was doing her hair, she told me about this amazing organization that helps save women and children from sex traffickers. She proceeded to tell me stories about how awful the world of sex trafficking is and what this organization was doing to help save the children around the world. CL was doing the scheduling for these premieres. She asked me if I wanted to go to one of the pre-screenings. I said, yes, that sounds awesome. She gave me some dates and I chose one. After the movie, Tim was there answering some questions. I told CL that if he really was a famous guy, then he needed a new hairstyle. When she ran into him, she told him that she had a great hairstylist. I think you should try her out. He had his assistant reach out to me. And you'll have to excuse me, I am going to drink quite a bit today at meds. Never fun. Anyways, I went to a house in Saratoga Springs. It was on October 24th, 2021. Apparently, Tim was doing some sort of therapy that he had to do for 3 days in a row. He was on his third day, and he had to be away from his family and friends. Only Catherine, his wife, could be there. He couldn't have his phone or anything until the end of the 3 days, which would have been that night. So I had been communicating with his assistant and Dimitri, who was his bodyguard, about a time and place where to meet so that I could cut and color Tim's hair. When I showed up to the house in Saratoga Springs, which was not his house, I guess it was just a house where he was doing his therapy, his wife, Catherine, opened the door. She let me in, and Tim was coming down the stairs. He looked like he had just woke up. He and Catherine were talking about what they wanted to do with his hair. She was saying that she wanted to have a more edgier look. He was saying that he wanted to have a more edgier look. She did not want that. She didn't want him to color his hair more blonde, which is what he wanted. Imagine that. They couldn't really agree. So she just said, do whatever you want, and left. She told me that his assistant would be there soon. When she left, he began to tell me that Catherine doesn't like his hair light because it reminds her of when he would be on operations, and it made her uncomfortable, and she did not like that. So we kind of talked about how there are different levels of light colors that he could have, and maybe in the past it looked like a bleached boy blonde. So we could do more of a natural blonde, and maybe she would like that better. So we agreed, and I started cutting his hair first. We did that. Then as I started applying the lightener, Tim started asking me questions. He asked what I knew about OUR. And I said I didn't know much except for what CL had told me, and that his movie was out. He seemed very shocked and almost disappointed that I knew nothing about his company or him for that matter. He asked what I did know about him or if I had even heard his name with the LDS church. And I said no. He replied with, I'm actually a big deal. I said, oh yeah, tell me why. I can't even imagine how awkward that would have been. That is when he started to tell me that he had written quite a few books on the new and everlasting covenant. He said that he is good friends with many apostles, including Elder Ballard, and that he knows President Trump personally. He started telling me a lot more about what OUR does. He asked me how I felt about it. I told him I was very impressed and that it's a very noble cause and that I really admired him and what he was doing. Then he asked if I ever wanted to be involved in a cause like that. And I said, of course. He asked what position I would like to be involved in. And I said, I don't know. I never thought about it, but it sounds amazing. Then he asked me how I would feel about going on an operation with him. When I asked him what he meant, that's when he started telling me about the couples ruse. Tim said that the way they had been getting intel on ops had worked for a while, but it wasn't working anymore. So they had started realizing what was happening and that they needed a new tactic. Tim said that he had been praying about it and that he came up with a couples ruse and that had been sanctioned by Elder Ballard and that God had told him to do it. He said it was a difficult job. We had to act like a couple. He had to be very sexual. We had to be very sexual with one another. But it was all for the benefit of saving children. He said that God knew our hearts and our souls and what we were wanting to accomplish, which was only to help the children. He asked me how I felt about it and if I thought I could do anything like that. I felt special that he was asking me. I felt important to be asked to do such amazing, important work. I said, of course, I would want to do that. Then he began to tell me that his last operator, who was his partner, had fallen in love with him. And before any lines were ever crossed, she had told him and decided to quit. He said he was about to do interviews with about 20 different women to be his new partner, but if I was willing to train for a little bit and see if it worked out, he would like me to be his new partner. He said he already felt very comfortable with me. I told him, yes, that sounds amazing. He asked when he could meet with me so I could sign an NDA. I said, anytime, let's figure it out. And he said, how about tonight? I said, okay. At that point, I told him that I was a single mom. He knew that I had my kids that weekend. He asked if he could come over with one of his partners after my kids went to bed and I could sign an NDA, because he probably shouldn't have told me any of that before having me sign anything. I said, absolutely. He asked me if I wanted to go to one of the showings of his movie premiere that was the next Monday morning, and I said yes. He ended up wanting me to tone his hair a little darker. Catherine still thought it was a little bit too light. So we were trying to figure out a time when we could tone it a little darker as well. We decided to sign the contract not that night. We would do it when we fixed his hair. CL was actually going to train as an operator as well. She and Matt Cooper were going to be partners. CL and Matt were going to come over to my home, and CL and I were going to sign our NDAs. That night, we were all going to talk and run some scenarios, and Tim and Matt would explain more in detail what it would be like on operations. We talked about how we would have to start training one-on-one, hanging out, so we could get really comfortable with each other and we could know how each other works. Even get to know our normal personalities. Like if we were sitting down, me putting my leg over his leg, things like holding hands, really getting to know each other on a personal level so that we could trust one another. Tim talked a lot about how we needed to trust each other. He said we would be put in dangerous situations the more we really knew how each other worked, that if we had to save one another, we could trust that that would happen. He starts trigger warning ahead of this. He starts slowly touching my hands, slowly touching my legs, slowly rubbing my back, and I just keep going along with it because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to get really, really comfortable with each other, especially physically. CL, Matt, Tim, and I hung out for a little bit, and CL and I signed the contracts, and they left. Tim and I continued texting every day, just still getting to know each other by talking on the phone. He asked me if I want to go to a gala that is coming up for his company, and I said yes. So he got CL and I tickets to that. And at this point, we've only seen each other those 2 times, but we have been talking and we are planning to get together with Matt Cooper and CL again at my house one night when I don't have kids, just so we can kind of all hang out and talk and get more comfortable with each other. We were planning on doing that before the gala. And so what happened was we got together, me, CL, Matt, and Tim. So 2 of the victims, Matt Cooper, who is a part of OUR, and Tim, just for clarification. We are hanging out because CL, we read her statement earlier. We are hanging out. We are hanging out. We actually played like some games and we're trying to all act like couples. It was very strange, but that's quote unquote what you're supposed to be doing. Tim starts kissing my neck and my forehead, grabbing my butt. He kept telling me like, this is what we have to do so that we're comfortable with one another. Matt Cooper's not doing this to CL. They would touch each other's backs and she would She had her leg over his, but that was the extent. I asked why they weren't being so handsy. He said, we would be the ones who were really communicating with the traffickers. We're the ones who are really in there. And so, he is Tim Ballard. I'm trusting him. I know that sounds crazy, but at this point, even my mom is telling me Tim is so amazing. She has all of his books at her house. She's read all of them. He's just this incredible guy. Anytime you mention his name, everybody just talks about how great he is. And so I just trusted this process. Well, CL and Matt and Tim and I are sitting there, and they start talking about how we need to do self-defense training. And we also need to do training where we go on fake ops. What we will be doing is we will be going to some bars and strip clubs, and we say, okay, that's all we really talk about at that point. CL needed to go, so we kind of set a date for that and then very quickly moved on because she had to leave. Okay. Are you helping me? Tim then asked Matt if he would go hang out in another room so he and I can just get more comfortable and talk more one-on-one and talk just more about our lives and get a little more personal. Yes, I did think it was a little strange, but Matt Cooper didn't think it was weird. And therefore, again, I am trusting this process. We sit on my couch. He pulls me in really close. He starts rubbing my arms and puts his face in my neck, started kissing my neck, pulled down my shirt on my shoulder and started kissing my shoulder. And I said, wait, aren't we supposed to just be talking and getting to know each other more personally? And he said, yeah, this is what we are doing. Why don't you talk? And so I started asking him questions, I think because I felt so uncomfortable that he was being physical. I started asking him about his wife, Catherine. I asked him, what does she know about this? And he said, not much. I asked him, what do you mean? And he said, not much, and that she didn't want to know. I was a little bit shocked. I said, what do you mean she doesn't want to know? She said she doesn't want to know the details. She trusts me. She knows that this is a calling from God. She knows that this is what needs to happen. And she knows that I am the man for the job. I asked if she trusts you. Then why does she not want to know what is going on? He said, well, she knows to a point. She doesn't want to know the details about things that I have to do with the women. And she doesn't want to know about the gross things that we have to say with the sex traffickers and do with my partners, which brought me into more questions. So I started asking him, well, what do you have to do with your other partners? Sorry, some of this is written kind of a little weird for me. He proceeds to tell me that he has had to shower naked with them. He has been in massages before where they have had to grind naked and act like they are having sex. He has had to pretend that he is fingering someone while they were at a bar. He has had to have somebody rub him over his pants on his private areas. Things like that. And I was a little bit shocked, but he just kept saying to me, do you now see what I'm saying? This is a very, very hard job, but it really is a calling from God because somebody has to do it. And if somebody has to do it, I know that I can do it and have the Spirit with me while I do it. And I said, I'm not sure if I can do that. That seems very hard for me. He said, you will. Once you understand and see the good and the kids, you will get there. He told me that a line has never been crossed with him and a partner before, and that I can feel safe with him. Then he begins to tell me the first time I met Tim and Catherine, that later she told him she had a strong feeling that I should be his partner. So once again, I was feeling very uneasy, but also thinking in my mind that this situation is a very uneasy situation, but that I'm going to trust this process. At this point, Matt comes downstairs and Tim gives me a hug and they leave. In the meantime, we keep texting. He wanted us to build a narrative of what we would say our relationship was when we were undercover. He just kept saying, we need to build our legacy. What's our story? He wanted to make sure we were talking or texting so that they could stay close and he could answer any questions I had, no matter how awkward it may seem. We planned on doing an op training for October 28th. That was a Thursday, I believe, and we were going to do self-defense training in the morning. That night, we were going to do op training. He wanted to come over one more time before that training. He wanted me to practice putting on tattoos for him, to talk about outfits, what kind of roles we want to play together as a couple. He wanted to look up outfits that we would want to wear as a couple. He kept talking about how I need to dress slutty. He said we can look up outfits for you and told me multiple times that I need to hurry and pretend to fall in love with him. He would tease me about how he thought it was funny how embarrassed I would get when he would touch me or do anything physical. So Tim and Matt come over the night before the train exercise. That's what it says. I'm not ad-libbing. So Tim and Matt come over the night before the train exercise. I'm assuming it meant training. They just kind of hung out. I honestly was not quite sure if this was how the hangout was supposed to go. They just kept saying they loved hanging out with me. And if I'm being honest, I enjoyed hanging out with them. It felt like I was a part of a cause that was really changing people. They told me lots of stories about operations they had been on. It was great to hear. I felt like a part of something that was amazing. Every once in a while, Tim would come over and sit by me. He would whisper in my ear, "Why aren't you kissing my neck? Don't you want to do that?" I would sort of laugh and play it off as if it was a joke. Tim didn't bring the tattoos for me to practice on him. He said he forgot. We looked up outfits that we would like to wear as a couple when we would be out. They were getting ready to leave, and Tim asked Matt to go out to the car and wait for him. I immediately got nervous. Matt walked to the car. Tim shut the door. He said, "I need you to kiss my neck a little bit. I need you to be able to grab my ass. I need this to work both ways so we don't get ourselves in a bad situation." We were standing by my front. I put my arms around his neck and I started kissing his neck. He told me again, "I need you to grab my ass." When I hesitated, he then turned around and pushed me up against my door and started trying to grind up on me. And I could tell that he was erect, in other words. So I pushed away from him. I snapped at him and said, "Tim," he said, "this is what I wanted to show you. This is what I'm talking about. And sometimes this happens and it's going to naturally happen. And I just want you to be aware of that." I think I said, okay. I was in a little bit of shock. Luckily, Matt knocked on the door. I hurried and opened it. He walked out the door and said, "You still need to learn how to smack my ass." So I patted it as he walked by me. He said, "Don't ever pat my ass again." He said, "Don't ever pat my ass again." He walked out the door and said, "You still need to learn how to smack my ass." So I patted it as he walked by me. He said, "Don't ever pat my ass again." But that's what you just told her to do. Anyways, when he left, I felt very conflicted. I wasn't sure if this is how you should be feeling, if this is what it is supposed to feel like when they are saying this is a hard job and somebody has to do it. I kept returning my mind to the stories that they were telling me about the operations that they had been on, how amazing it sounded. And I kept telling myself that this is why it has to be so worth it. So Thursday morning comes around, which is October 28th. This is when we are going to the gym to do the self-defense training class. He, of course, is texting me in the morning and telling me he's so sorry for staying too late the night before, kind of giving me a little rundown about what time, where we were going to meet that night, asking me what I'm going to wear. We never ended up talking about what we were going to wear. And so we just kind of talked about when we were at the gym. We were going to make a list of things that I needed to get together for that night so I could do makeup and tattoos and stuff for his hair. So then he asked me, "Are you feeling okay?" And I didn't respond. He just kept trying to say, like, it's okay. And we should be over communicating at this point and telling each other everything. That's what saves our asses and things like that. And at this point, I'm feeling so uncomfortable about what happened the night before with him pushing me up against the door. I asked him what I talked to CL, and he told me nothing. And he said, "But we can talk at the gym." So we got to the gym. Nobody's there yet. Everyone was kind of running late. So as soon as CL, I jumped in the car with her. And we just kind of started talking about how we are excited to do the self-defense class and how we were both really nervous to go to strip clubs. We were joking about how we shouldn't wear what we should wear to the strip clubs. We don't know what to wear to strip clubs like we are moms. We don't know how to dress slutty. We don't go out. We're boring moms. And so we're just having fun, which was nice. I wanted to talk to her so bad, but I just felt a little scared to say anything. Tim at this point is really pushing me to get a passport. He is telling me that in a couple of weeks they have ops and he really wants me to go on it with him. And because I don't have a passport, we need to get it expedited. Pause for a second. Everybody doing okay so far? Uh, Thanks for joining me, y'all. I hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. Okay. He's telling me at the gym I really need to talk with Matt Cooper about it. Everyone finally gets there. There's Matt Cooper, CL, Tim, Blaine, who is Tim's son. He had just got home from a mission a week or two before, and a girl named DM, and we found out that DM is going to be on the ops with us that night. And we started doing the training. Well, DM tells us that she had just barely got a divorce, and she tells us about it. I think her husband had been in former military, so she kind of knew some self-defense. And we started learning some self-defense techniques. Tim was taking us aside one by one to sign our NDAs. He did take DM back in the office, I believe, for a minute. Then he took me back there. I'm not sure if he took CL back there or not. He took DM back first. And when it was my turn, the first thing he said to me was that DM just asked me if she could be my partner. And he said, "What do you think about that?" I said, Do you want to be her partner?" And he said, "No, I want to be your partner." I told him I could be whoever's partner he needed me to be. Then he asked, "Oh, are you not jealous?" I said, "Wait, what am I supposed to be jealous?" He was like, "Yeah, you're supposed to be jealous. It's a privilege to be my partner." And I was like, "Oh, yes, then I'm so jealous," in a joking tone. He didn't find it funny. We talked more about it. He started bringing a spiritual side into it. By the end of a conversation, I did feel privileged to be his partner. I felt blessed. Ooh, later we get finished the self-defense training. We signed new NDA contracts. It says DNA, but I'm sure it's supposed to be NDA. They didn't check this very well, but it's fine. I never got a copy. We left to go home and get ready. When I got in my car, I just had a sick feeling, so I asked him to call me. So he called me, and I just said, "I don't know. I'm getting really nervous." So he once again told me that he just felt so sure that I needed to be his partner. Even that morning, he had had a dream the night before about some really amazing things that we did to save some children. So he just got confirmed that it was just nerves and that I could trust him and everything was going to be good. Then he then again called me and he said, "Hey, I think just you and I are going to leave your house. We're not going to leave the gym, which is originally where we were all going to leave." He was like, "I think we just need to make sure you're okay before we meet up with everyone." And I thought, "Oh my gosh, that's so nice." So he said, "Well, just Uber from your house." Well, when he gets to my house, he is with his son and Matt Cooper, his son who was at the training, Blaine. And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. Well, this is not going to be okay. Blaine cannot come on this mission with us." They all reassured me, Blaine included, that he would not be going into any bars or strip clubs, that he was going to be on the outside, just doing things with the phones and making sure we were all where we needed to be, those types of things, and that I didn't need to worry about that. I just felt like it would have been very strange that I'm there pretending to be a couple with his dad. I didn't want him to have that image in his mind, nor did I feel comfortable with Tim's son, who had just gotten home from a mission being in a strip club. Again, just so you remember, most of the victims in this lawsuit are LDS. And it is booze is against regulations. Strip clubs are a big no-no, all of those things. So it's like a big deal to them. So they get everything ready. All the phones are ready. Everything's connected. These phones, OUR phones that only nobody can connect to except for anyone who has one of those phones. So they give us one and they leave. Well, Tim was like, "Okay, well, now we have to be in character because the second you get off the plane in another country, you are in character. Anyone can be a spy, from the cab driver to every single person at the hotel. Like everyone is working for the sex traffickers, and you have to be in character at all times, except for when you are in your hotel room." I was ready for the night, but he wanted to go up to my bathroom in my bedroom and put his tattoo on. So we go up and he changes in my bathroom with the door closed. He comes out and I put a tattoo on his arm. And I think we put a headband on him. Then we were getting ready to leave. I think our Uber was supposed to be there in 5 minutes, and he kind of just pushes me back onto my bed. And I was like, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I just want to see how far you are willing to go." And I was like, "Whoa, what do you mean?" And he said, "I want to see how comfortable you can be. You need to be very comfortable with me." I had a long sleeve shirt dress on, and he starts kissing my legs and lifts up my dress to right underneath where my boobs are. And he's kissing my stomach. I kept saying, "Are you sure? Wait, are you sure?" We would say something to the fact like we might have to do this. He would say something to the fact like we might have to do this. Like if we're on a beach, we have to show them that this is who we are and what we're a very sexual couple, and they have to see this, and you have to be comfortable. Keke, you're not helping me, bro. No, stop. Sorry, guys. You can't shy away from it. And you get very shy. You shy away from this stuff. I would say, okay, I think I can do it. If I were in the situation, but in my bedroom, that feels very uncomfortable. And he kept saying, "I need you to show me. I need you to show me." But also his phone kept ringing, which made me feel like everyone was waiting on us, or Uber was there. So he literally turned his phone off. At this point, I'm trying to talk to him and ask him questions. So he would stop for a minute and answer my questions. And then he would start kissing my stomach again and kissing my neck and like putting his legs between my legs, grinding on me, asking me to kiss his stomach. Then my phone keeps ringing and buzzing. And so I push him off me. I go get my phone. It's Matt Cooper. He sounds very frustrated. I handed him over to Tim. Tim is like, yeah, it's fine. Everything's fine. Just get another Uber here. Luckily, the Uber was 5 minutes away. So I was like, I need to freshen up. Bro, please go on for a moment. Everybody doing okay? Keke's obviously not. We're going to continue on in a minute, but Keke is doing everything in his power to cause issues. Are you being bad? He's pulling, I don't know if you guys can see it. All my printed papers are right here, and he keeps thumbing through them, and then he keeps taking my pen. Keke Cam is a good break through this case. All right, here we go. I know he's all over the place. He's a mess today. He to me to remember the second we get in the Uber, we are in character well before we left. I felt as if I had a headache, so I grabbed some ibuprofen out of my drawer before I went to freshen up. He asked me if he could have some ibuprofen. I gave him some, and then he also asked if he could have some for the road. I said yes. He also asked if I had some Excedrin. I said yes, so I gave him some Excedrin as well. Then I shut the drawer and went in the bathroom to finish freshening up. When I came back, I noticed my drawer was open even now. I remembered shutting it. I thought that was strange, but didn't think too much about it. Then we go get in the Uber and we start driving there. Of course, he's all over me. He had brought some energy drinks. I noticed that he had put a pill in his mouth and started drinking some energy drinks. It was not the ibuprofen or the Excedrin I had given him. I asked him if he just took a pill, and he said, yes, sometimes I have to take some pills that I was taking for my anxiety. He told me that when he would take that pill with an energy drink, that it would almost make him feel like he had a little bit of a high. I thought, well, that's great, but to each their own. I didn't know what to do. I'm in a car with him once again. Everyone's telling me to trust this man. We are sitting in the car. He's telling me that when we are in these situations, we always have to be very, very sexual, all over each other, just like groping each other. So he's just all over me, like even spreads my legs and the car and like puts his hand right there on my thigh. And he's like, oh, I just love these thighs, and is like grabbing them and just being very grungy. We get to the bar / strip club. And we were the first ones there. So we go inside and we sit at a table, and Tim tells me I just need to be all over him. I need to give him lap dances. I need to talk to the women when they come over and ask them questions and tell them to dance for us and tell them they look nice and ask them what time they get off. Questions like that. He would give me assignments. Like I needed to go talk to the owner and ask him how long he's owned the place, and talk to certain strippers and ask them how they started, and just all these questions so I could get comfortable with talking to these types of people. Then he got us a private room with a stripper. I was completely mortified. We go back to this room. Trigger warning. At this point, Matt Cooper, DM, and CL show up. They need to pretend that they don't know us. They just walked by us. They go sit down, and I can see they're talking to people. I'm not quite sure what else happens. I just remember being back in the room with the stripper's boobs and butt in my face. Tim had me sit on his lap, so pretty much she was giving me a lap dance with no shirt on and a thong, shaking her butt in my face, rubbing her boobs all over me. And finally, I was like, okay, thank you very much. This was great. Like, we're done. And she was like, we have 5 more minutes. And I just said, thank you. This was amazing. But now I need to go F my man. Fuck my man. Because that was our safe word. I could not be in there anymore. I had to leave. So we left the strip club and he said, I'm sorry. Was that too much? And I said, yes, I just need to breathe. So we walked around just in the parking lot for a minute. I got some air and he said, okay, do you think we're good? And I said, yeah, I think I'm good. And he said, okay, we're going to go somewhere else. So I'm just trying to prepare myself. I'm telling myself that I think I can do this, trying to talk myself into being a big girl, telling myself how amazing it would be if I could actually pull this off and help all those kids, what that will feel like, and that somebody has to do this hard job, and that I can do this, and that I need to be the bigger person than what I was being in the moment, because that is what Tim is telling me, and I'm believing in him. So we pull up to the next strip club. At this one, we all walk in together. There's a lot more people there, and this one is dirty, gross, and vile. Probably the one in Magna. Most of the women do not have their shirts on. They have little to no underwear on. I'm feeling sick to my stomach. I wanted to cry, so I excused myself. Now, I'm going to interject here for a second. I know this is probably going to sound really different for some of you because strip clubs are not a big thing in Utah. There is a couple of them. They're kind of the underbelly in Utah. Yes, they do have people that go and visit them. But in the LDS culture, you got to remember that, especially for these women who are moms, previously married, things of that nature, they've probably never been in an environment like this. Out of, let's say, 5 of my Mormon female friends, one of them has probably been in a strip club or a bar. It is very common for grown adult women to have never been in a bar, even men in the Mormon religion, because if you are seen there by other people, things like that, they are a very gossipy group of people. So in her defense, this was probably her first time. I'm just interjecting that. I don't know, but her reaction is very typical. It is not something that they frown upon it. Okay. Yes, do some of them go to those things, but the ones in Salt Lake, like, you really have to kind of know those places too. It's not. I've been in multiple strip clubs myself, and I've never been super comfortable in them either. I will just be honest with you guys. I'm not, and I've always been with my partner, so I've never been comfortable in them either. But I'm just trying to set the stage. Like, this is very common that faithful LDS women have never been in a strip club. It's not foreign. Okay, let's go back to this. Okay, I wanted to cry, so I excused myself. I go to the bathroom. I'm in the stall. It's disgusting. I don't even dare to pee. I just lean my head over because I don't want to mess up my makeup. And then I let the tears just fall to the ground because I don't want to mess up my makeup. I'm trying to keep it together, but this is so hard for me. I pull it together as much as I can. I don't have my phone. We aren't allowed to have our phones. So I'm just really trying hard to be okay. I washed my hands and I went out, and I noticed that Tim has his arm around DM. CL is sitting in a booth with Matt Cooper, and Tim walks over to me and asks if I'm okay. And I said, yep. And he was like, okay, come with me. And we start dancing. And then he takes me into this room and he whispers in my ear, are you okay? And I just nod, and he says, okay. We are in this little room by ourselves. There's a curtain, and a woman opened it, and they opened it and asked us if we want someone to come dance for us. And he tells them now that I'm assuming no, that I'm going to dance for him. So he tells me I need to give him a lap dance. So I start giving him a lap dance. And the next thing I know, his son opens the curtain, and I'm staring him straight in the face, and he is watching me give his dad a lap dance. I lost it. I came unglued. Blaine's son turns around, says sorry, and walks away. I told Tim I was done. I freaked out. I told him, we're all done. We're all leaving. This night is over. I told Tim he lied to me and told me that this would not happen. They all promised me. When I walked out of that room, Blaine was sitting at the bar. He's literally staring at this girl on a pole with her leg up to her head and her private area sticking out of her thong, like in the middle of her private area, her lips. So her private area is completely hanging out, and he's like a deer in the headlights. I grabbed him. I tell him he needs to leave. Then when I went and grabbed Matt, CL, and DM, I said, we're done. I'm so upset. Blaine should not be in here. We are leaving at this point. I've never seen this older gentleman, but he is clearly a part of the OUR and the team. He came up and apologized to me. I just said, whatever. We are all leaving. We are all outside. Tim went over and talked to Blaine for a minute. Then mine and Tim's Uber came. We all got back into our cars and met back at the gym in Draper. I honestly do not remember my conversation with Tim on the way back. I just remember walking into the gym. Everyone was looking at me with faces like, oh shit. And I walked right up to Blaine and I asked him if his mom knew where he was that night. And he said, she knows I'm here with my dad. And I said, so what does she think you're doing? And he said, well, she thinks that I'm just helping with training. Does she know that you were going to strip clubs? And he said, no. And I said, would she be okay with you going to strip clubs? And he said, no. Earlier that night, when he was at my house helping with the phones, he had told me that he had a girlfriend and that she had waited for him while he was on a mission. And I said, how do you think your girlfriend would feel with you being here? And he said, not okay. And I said, there is your answer. You should not have been here tonight. He said, it's okay. It's okay. I've known about this and I've been training for this my whole life. And I said, you really should think about getting a different job. If you want to do this, do a different part of it. So we all huddle up. I'm standing in the corner because I'm so pissed off and everyone still is just kind of apologizing. Like, we're so sorry. It's really awkward. I don't really remember the rest of the night. I got a message from Tim the next morning at 6:52 a.m. and said, you were fantastic. I really do want to keep working with you. We will work out the emotions and tactics, and so many things will revolve around ops. Let's talk very soon. We ended up talking on the phone a lot that day, and from then on, we talked a lot about spiritual things. This gets worse. Sorry, y'all. Please bear with me. This is going to get way worse. Blaine is Tim's son. Blaine is his oldest son who just returned from a mission. I think he is 23 years old. Current age, I think. It's really sad that they used his kid. It is really sad. Yeah, that he used his child. Okay. They have 9. He's one of 9. So they have 7 biologic kids between Tim and Catherine, and they have 2 adopted from Haiti. Sorry, y'all. This cat and his tail. Give me a moment. Let me try to get him to lay down. Come here. Come on. Can you just chill? Can we have a... Come on. Should have named you Tim. You're annoying. Bubba. Can you guys see what this... He's just being a mess, y'all. Come here. You want me to hold you for a minute? Keke needs attention. Keke, yeah. He's being a little shit. Exactly. Okay, this is going to get pretty heavy now because she's going to talk about some personal stuff in her family. So trigger warning. Let me scan you guys back to this. Okay. Anybody want him? I'm going to mail him to one of you guys, please, and thank you. Okay. God damn, every time I put him back, he just keeps coming back. Now he's grabbing the cord again. Okay. My dad had been diagnosed with a brain tumor about 1.5 years before that, and it was terminal. Oh, God. I was really struggling with my spirituality and God at the time. My dad at the time had a brain tumor and was dying. I confided in him about that. I confided in him that I had depression and anxiety. He confided in me that night that he had a major meltdown, like a complete meltdown in front of his friends, his family, friends, his wife, his kids, and that this is him kind of coming back from that, from this, that he would not have done operations for a while, that this is coming back, and that even now, after that night, how he saw how I protected Blaine, and even him, that he felt even more that I was supposed to be his partner. Tim said he felt very, very safe with me and that he knows that I will protect him. He wants me to know Oh, cat hair. That he really does care about me and he thinks that this is going to be a really great relationship. God, this is gross. Yes. Sorry, Keke. Keke is demanding attention today. Okay. He was joking and saying that I was his drug provider, his waxer, his hairstylist, his massage therapist. And he was saying, this is awesome. Like I was everything for him. We were texting really late. And because I didn't, he was saying that I was just all these things for him. I was trying to turn it around and I would always do this. I would turn it around on his wife and I would say, go to bed, like go make love to your wife. Go do something for your wife. Go do something for your kids. I would try to turn things around on to his family. I could tell he was relying on me heavily for his mental stability at this point. I was really starting to care for him, only as a friend, as someone I looked up to and realized he had been through so much. We just kind of kept talking and texting at this point. When we did see each other, I don't believe there was any touching or uncomfortableness that way. It would be quick for a haircut or a wax, right before the gala at the end of October. He came over and he just told me that he was feeling a little unsettled and that he wanted to talk to me about some things. He just kept talking to me about how safe he felt with me, how he could talk to me about anything, how he wants to tell me his deepest, darkest secrets, that he feels like he can relate and rely on me. And I have lotion on and the cat hair is stuck to my freaking face. He was okay. That he feels like he can relate and rely on me, that I'm the only one right now that he can talk to and even feel safe with. He was often making comments, come get him, please. Though that you were like, please don't come after me. I don't want to sue you. You know, if you went to the public and told them all these secrets that I'm telling you, that you would have your small moment of fame, but it wouldn't be good. It would look like we were having an affair. You would just look bad. And I would just be kind. And I would just kind of ask him why he would say that and why he would just say, everyone that I love turns on me. Everyone that I love makes up stories about me. I wanted him to trust me. I wanted him to feel like he had a friend in the world. I wanted to be there for this man who has done so much for everyone. And quite honestly, I wanted to help him with his wife. I had seen her. I saw the sadness in her eyes, and all of it made me very sad. And when he had talked about his former partners to me and how they'd fall in love with him, I was not attracted to him in that way. So I felt very much like I was going to be an easy thing for me to do, that I could just be his friend. At this point, he has come over a couple times. I'm not exactly sure what we have talked about, or what the days are. This is the end of October, but he has talked to me about, number one, the operator DM who went on training with us. Kate, you need to go. Seriously. I got so much cat hair in my... He told me that when we were out that night, that she had made him very uncomfortable and that she kept saying, I should be your operator. I should be with you. And that even at the end of the night, he kept saying, you should date my son. You should date my son, just to show her that he was not interested in her and that he didn't want her to be his operator. He also told me about his previous partner, DS, and that they worked so well together, but she just could not help but fall in love with him. And she was so in love with him. She had tried kissing him. They still remained friends. It was hard on Catherine, knowing it, but not knowing. Sex was difficult for them. She didn't like to be naked or waxed because she felt like he would just picture little girls' private areas. Okay, wait. Trigger warning, but I'm going to read that again. If I can get this cat hair out of my nose.
No question.
Okay, hold on. Give me 1 second, y'all. Okay. It was hard on Catherine. I'm rereading this just to get the full context. It was hard on Catherine, knowing but not knowing. Sex was difficult for them. She didn't like to be naked or to be waxed because she felt like he would just picture little girls' private areas. What? This is the statement right here that I'm reading just so you guys can see it. He also told me to read the book. It was called The Visions of Glory, and that he had met with the man who wrote it before he had died. His name was Tom Harrison, and that Tom had told him lots of visions that he had that actually had Tim in them. Reminder back to the Visions of Glory. Okay. He said that Tim would be a prophet of the LDS church one day and that he would be the president of the United States. He told me that he also had another psychic friend, one here in Utah, that she would tell him things like who his partner should be, that she would tell him a lot of the times where he could find the children and where the sex traffickers were. And that's where he sometimes got a lot of his information from. He had been going to California where he was doing shows on PragerU. We can watch those someday too. They're very interesting. He was telling me that they wanted him to start hosting his own show. And while he was there, he had met with this lady who had done tantric on him. And he said that they got naked together. She didn't touch him, but she did sit behind him and that she would do these tantric exercises on him. And what would happen is that it would get out all of the bad like juju in him, and what would happen was at the end, he would have an orgasm and that he would get such good relief, but he felt that it was okay because they weren't touching. He wasn't attracted to her. She was an older woman, not attractive, but he was getting out all the gross toxins and stuff in his body. But that he could have an orgasm, and he would ask me if I thought he should feel bad about doing it. No, let me reread that again. But he could have an orgasm, and he would ask me if I thought he should feel bad about it. And I asked him if Catherine knew, and he said no. And I said, then maybe it's something you should not be doing. You should probably have a conversation with her. Or if not, like just maybe don't do it. I thought it was the strangest thing. And he kept saying, oh my gosh, you should try like this. You should try stuff like this. You should do stuff like this. And I told him I was not interested in that. I told him about this show called The Goop Lab with Gwyneth Paltrow, and that they had talked a lot about things like sex and being in your mind and all those things. I told him that I thought he should sit down and watch it with his wife and that maybe it could help because he would always try to talk about his sex life, about Catherine with me. I would not want to talk about it. And he would just say that they couldn't talk about things openly. So at the time, I mean, I'm a hairstylist. A lot of women talk about these things. And I had heard a lot about this show. And so I told him to watch it with her. That's when he started telling me that like he had this therapy session. And that's when he was telling me about this tantric stuff. Then we have the gala. He put me and CL in the very front of the gala. He sat us at a table with Matt Osborne and Dean Morgan. He sat me right by Dean, and he also sat next to his operator, the one he had been telling me about, DS, and her date. It felt very strange because automatically CL and I went to sit by each other, and Matt and Dean split us up. So Matt saw CL across the table from me, and I sat right next to her, and Dean sat right next to me, which we both were looking at each other, even text each other like, what just happened? This is so weird. Dean was very nice. He started talking to me and asking me questions about my life and how I was liking training with him and if I liked being his partner and things like that. Kind of asking me what sort of training we were doing. And I started feeling a little bit like I was being interrogated. I sort of felt the need to be very careful about what I was answering. I sort of started dodging his questions. I was feeling very nervous. For one, the contract I signed says I can't tell anybody about it being an operator, not even anyone else in the company, not the other operators, nobody. So I'm feeling very nervous. I'm wondering even if this is a test. I'm feeling very uneasy. So I kind of am dodging his questions. I'd also been talking to Tim and telling him that I was feeling very unsure about moving forward. I felt like he is not in a very good place, and I was feeling very heavy with him. I felt like he was relying on me for his mental stability at that point, and he was just kept trying to say, like, come to this gala. It's going to be so great. It will be so fun. Let's talk later. And I kind of thought at first that he was setting us up right. I kind of thought at first that he was setting us right up front to just kind of like woo me and keep me going in this direction. I wish they would have redone some of the wording in this, but oh well. I feel bad that these victims even had to write this. I can't even imagine how triggering this was for them to have to relive these things. But then I am sitting next to DS, who I feel she is also is asking me lots of questions, like, what kind of training have you done? Have you gone out with Tim yet? And I felt the need to ask her questions. And I said, did you feel it was worth it? Did you feel safe with him? Did you ever feel like you were in an awkward situation? She just kept saying, no, no, no. And I don't know if it's her because of her boyfriend was there, if Dean was listening or what, but she was just saying how it is the best you can trust him with your life. Are we sure about that? Keke, you need to go. You got hair all over my face now and it's itching. Sorry, y'all. I'm over here like driving my face insane. Mr. G. Brooks, I think that's the second one that you're talking about. But I think that's the one you're talking about. That's what I'm thinking too, Tracy, is it's probably like she probably did a deposition type thing or an interview with the attorneys and they probably typed it up kind of like a scribe would do for a doctor, I guess. Cash, I'm sending him to you because at this point my face is so full of cat hair that I can't even stop myself from itching it. It's driving me bonkers. Okay, let's keep going. Sorry, y'all. I'm over here twitching. Oh, okay. Phew. One huge stressor off my plate. I just heard from somebody. Okay. That I was worried about. All right. He would never put you in a situation that you could not get out of. He would put his life in front of yours. He promised to always keep me safe. And she said at some points, you are going to have to be uncomfortable that he would never do anything that he is not supposed to do. And I said, okay, in that capacity, it made me think, okay, I think maybe I can move forward. She talked so much about how it was so worth it, saving the children. It was so great being there, how you felt important. You felt like you were doing so much good. All these things that gave me some courage to keep going. The gala is done and people are dancing and talking. I decided to go to the bathroom because I feel that I'm very awkward. Because I feel that I'm in a very awkward situation sitting in the middle of Dean and DS. I make my way to the bathroom. I ran into Tim's wife and I had only met her the one time before when I did Tim's hair. But I stopped her because Tim said that she felt like I should be his operator and I wanted to talk to her. And I said, hi, do you remember me? I met you when I did Tim's hair and she seemed very, very comfortable with me. She said, oh yeah, she was very kind, very nice, but it seemed as if it was an uncomfortable situation for her. And she did not seem to know that I was an operator for him. She said, oh, are you still doing Tim's hair? And I said, yes. And she was like, that's so great. It's been looking good. She said she was sorry that I didn't like it blonde and that she might have been weird that day. And I said, oh, please don't be sorry. Please don't apologize. I hope that you ended up liking it. She said she did. And I just told her she looked beautiful and we moved on. I figured she didn't mention me being an operator with him because everything is so hush hush. On the way back from the restroom, I ran into CL in the hall and also Dean and Matt Osborne. I automatically felt very, very trapped. I felt like they had all pulled us out in the hall to ask us questions. They started asking us what kind of training we have done. I just look at CL. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. And she tells them that we had done self-defense. We had gone out with Matt Cooper and done some shooting. They tell us, just so you ladies know, if Tim ever asks to take you to the strip clubs, that is not something you should be doing. If you're ever put in that situation that you feel uncomfortable, you guys need to let us know right away. We have very different opinions on how things should be run, and we would like you guys to let us know if you are ever in any of those situations. Whoa. Well, a couple of weeks before, we had just been in the strip clubs with Tim, so we clearly felt very awkward. I'm a rule follower. I clearly wanted to run away from this conversation. Dean kept looking at me. He knew by my face. I couldn't even speak. Matt Osborne gave CL and I his card and said, "Thank you for sitting by us," and they walked away. We both said we were done with the gala, and we left and got in the car. We both felt so very uncomfortable at the gala. We weren't sure what was going on. CL and I had met up and drove together, so luckily we were driving back together. Anytime we had gotten together with Tim and Matt, they had made us turn off our phones because they didn't want anyone to listen in on our conversations. So again, I'm speaking for a moment here to all of you Tim Ballard supporters. I'm going to speak very clearly to you before I finish reading this. To all you Tim Ballard simps and you OUR defenders, tell me again how these people didn't know that this was going on. Tell me again that they didn't sweep it under the rug. Tell me again that Sean Reyes's office has not helped protect Tim Ballard and not stand up for victims. Tell me again how this is fighting human trafficking. I'll wait. This is absolutely disgusting. This is the fourth victim's statement. And we know now so many people had been brushing around. The Sun got involved in this and they brushed it under the rug and still promoted him in The Sound of Freedom like he was some sort of fucking hero. I'm sorry, this shit pisses me off because these rumors have been going around forever. Sorry, trigger warning for my language, but this is bullshit because they have used this whole potential Senate seat run to make this such a divisive topic when in reality, he was creating victims. He wasn't helping trafficking. He was creating victims. And there's no criminal investigation in this? Are you fucking joking? Governor Cox, I hope to God you get an internal investigation going in your own AG's office because they all need to be removed. Abso-fucking-lutely disgusting. Your AG's office says they're conflicted out. The fuck they are. They're as complacent and complicit in this whole shit and thing by protecting Tim Ballard. I don't know about you all, but I can't sit here and listen to this shit and read these statements without just wanting to. Yeah, it pisses me off. And how dare we give the victims a voice? How dare we? Well, guess what? You gave Tim Ballard a platform for 10 plus years that while he was going around and using his power to harm and recruit more victims? Fucking president of the United States. You got some Project 2025 bullshit up your ass here. This is beyond disgusting. Beyond. And yes, I believe in victims because Tim Ballard's side of the story has been told for 10 years. Tim Ballard's side of the story has lined his pocket with millions of dollars. These women were victimized in Tim Ballard's games he decided to play. And yes, it's a civil suit. And yes, they're alleged. But I'm sorry, this is showing such a consistent pattern when you have numerous people coming out saying the exact same things. And people around him knew that this was going on. We speak for victims. People like Tim and his buddies should all be punished for what they've done. Now back to this, because this shit, ooh, this makes me so mad. Everything. And to know that Matt Osborne confronted her, gave her the number, but yet, why didn't they go talk to Tim and Matt Cooper? Yo, Coop, you were in on this stuff. Where are you at? You helped him. I can't. And by the way, just so you guys know, Matt Osborne was he kind of took over OUR. Not Matt Cooper, Matt Osborne, just so you guys are clear on who's who. I had a camera in my house and Tim would always make me turn that off. So we were even scared to talk in her truck with our phones on. We turned them off so we could talk openly. Before this night, I had never told her anything about my long time with Tim or how I had felt uncomfortable or any of our private conversations. I even showed her my text messages with him. We both talked about how the gala felt very uncomfortable and how some things with him for sure were inappropriate, that he really probably should not be going on ops. The gala was still going on. So I was not going to reach out to Tim, and I was going to wait a day or two and kind of process things. We both were unsure of where to go or what to do. So I decided, and I waited for a couple days. Tim ended up texting me, asking me if I could wax him and give him a haircut. I said, sure. But so much had happened the other night, I felt blindsided, and he did not know that what I was talking about. He said that we needed to talk. So we had a conversation. I told him that the rules I feel that he gives me, I cannot talk to anybody about anything, don't apply to other people, because not only did DS know that I was his operator, so did Matt and Dean, which obviously they work there, and I understand, but we are in public and aren't supposed to talk about it. And I was shocked that DS knew that I was his operator. Then she was asking me questions, and I felt that she knew things about me. So I just said to him, I feel like you apply these rules to me. I can't talk to anybody, but everyone else can talk to me about it and open up to the public. I felt that they were interrogating me. They told us that they were not allowed to go to strip clubs. He told me that he was sorry that he had put me in that situation, that this training program was new and that they were kind of still building it and that they weren't on the same page, but also that he is the boss. He is the head of the company and he will do whatever he wants, and things will start getting weird. The ops that we were going to go on kept moving. It moved to January, then it was moved to February. He started distancing himself from me a little bit more. I started feeling very unsure. CL and I had talked some more. I was worried that she had talked to Tim more, and I kind of told him I was uncomfortable, which did happen, and that is okay. Tim wanted to talk. I told him that maybe coordinating with Matt Cooper, CL, and I would be better. That way, if it's just about operations, then it might feel a little more comfortable so that we could all be together. We talked about how we were going to do more trainings and start doing ops in the spring. He wanted to be waxed before and said he didn't want CL to know that he gets waxed. He was embarrassed and then asked me to have them meet before and after. We did that. I had him come a little bit before so we could wax his face really quick. That way he couldn't stay after for a long time and use that as an excuse. Of course, he wanted to stay after and I wouldn't let him. I didn't really want to talk to him about his personal life. I was trying to separate it out of our relationship. I had also talked to him about how I felt about Catherine did not know that I was his operator. He told me that he and Catherine talked about it in the temple. She did know that she also wanted me to be his hairdresser. I started just feeling like this was not okay. I wasn't feeling comfortable with any of it. Sometime in the middle of December, he started telling me that he was not going to do ops anymore, that he was going to run projects from home. So we had to talk on the phone. He wanted me to work with other operators. He called and texted me many times. He was so worried that I had talked to CL and that I told her that I had felt uncomfortable. He was worried that I would use my 15 minutes of fame and say something. He was worried about all the personal things he had told me and I would come out to the public. He would just tell me over and over how he had been under investigation, how all these evil people are after him, how it's so hard when you're doing all this good because evil just comes at you so hard. I genuinely felt so bad for him. I also felt guilty. I felt guilty for thinking that things that he had done to me had crossed the line. I felt guilty for having the thoughts come in my mind that maybe this was wrong. I felt guilty for feeling sick when I was at the strip club. I felt guilty for telling CL and showing her the text. I was just kind of telling me that he was getting off all this medicine and he was getting ready to go to this camp where they would, I'm pretty sure, do like psychedelics on him for his brain to help him get through all of this stuff. She just kind of kept texting random things, not big. He kind of felt like I started getting a little bit deceptive of like, I tell people things. These are things that happen and they always turn on me. Like, I want you to be in my life, but I'm worried that people, I just don't want you to tell anybody anything. I said, that's what he kept just worrying about. He wanted to get together, but he was worried about our boundaries because we weren't doing ops anymore. I just kept telling him it's fine. We don't need to be worried about anything. That was it. We kind of talked about how he thought I should write a book about some of the things from my past with my ex and things that I had endured. We realized we knew somebody in common, my cousin. He kept on about the book. We should get together and talk about writing that book, and that if we got together, that he could help me figure out how to do it. I also wanted to introduce him to one of my married friends. The husband wanted to really work for OUR. He had it, and talking to BC as well. But I told him that I knew Tim Ballard, that I did his hair, and I would ask him personally. So I kind of brought it up to Tim, and he said, yeah, I would love to get together. We can talk about writing a book for you, and maybe we could meet your friend and we could do those things. So he was also talking about how he thought maybe I really should do operations and partner with somebody else, all of these things. This is just all through text at this point. I'm really sort of thinking that he feels very much like a narcissist. I asked him if he'll read a few books. If I asked him, and he said yes. I send him the books on narcissists, and he said he will read them. More than anything, I kept sort of pushing to get together with him for my friend because he really did want to get a job and meet with him. He was also kind of telling me about how he was still getting depressed. We got together. He kept wanting me to wax his chest. I told him that I would wax his chest if he really needed it waxed, and his neck and his face and stuff. So he kept asking me to do it at my house. I did not want to do it at my house alone with him. So I asked him to meet at my sister's studio, which is in my parents' basement in Pleasant Grove. Cooper came with him. We just went down there and we waxed it. And when we went to leave, when we were done, he went to hug me and he put his head in my neck and kissed my neck. And I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, oh, I'm sorry. I was like, it's okay. And he apologized about it. He just said, we are just friendships. Good. It was just very weird. So at this point, we just text until about January. The beginning of January, we just text about random things. We don't really get together. I'm still kind of talking to him about helping him, having him help my friend get a job there. Finally, we meet together with my friend, and we meet together with Ryan, Matt Cooper, and at my home. At this point, I had been telling Ryan that I did not think it was a good idea for him to be involved with OUR. He really badly wanted to be an operator. I told him that I thought it was a horrible idea, and I did not think that his marriage would survive it. I obviously could not tell him what it was about because of the confidentiality. I told him that I would get him a meeting with Tim. I actually asked him to be really honest with him about what it was like because I did not think his marriage could survive it. Tim said that they did have other options of things that they could do and that he could probably get a different job there. Well, Tim and Matt were here first. They came here. Tim felt a little bit off when he got here. They were only here for maybe about 5 minutes before Ryan got here. Ryan showed up. I don't remember that much about what they talked about, except for when Tim started telling him that if he wanted to be an operator, it's crazy. It's a crazy, horrible job. He started being very, very vulgar, talking about things that they have to say to the sex traffickers in order to get them to believe that they are there to buy children. He was saying horrible, awful things he would want to do to kids. And his face changed. His demeanor changed. He was showing Ryan that that's what it was like to be like. But not only that, it was like he kind of couldn't get out of the mode. He couldn't change back. He became vulgar and I didn't recognize him. Right? Ryan left and Tim started freaking out. He was opening my cupboards and slamming them. I looked at Matt Cooper. That is what is going on. And he asked me to go upstairs for a minute. So I did. I went upstairs and I could hear Tim yelling. I shut my bedroom door. I was honestly afraid. He was yelling. I could hear the door slamming and my cupboards opening and shutting again. And then I came back down a little bit later when Matt told me I could. And he said he was fine, but that they were going to leave. And that was that. Somewhere between the evening of January 7th to the early morning of January 8th, 2022, Tim Ballard came over to my home. He came over because he needed me to cut his hair. He was going on vacation with his family. I don't remember where they were going, but they were going to be on a cruise for, I believe, a week or two somewhere. He was really nervous about going and being away for that long. He had just done some intensive therapy with the military. He had just done some intense therapy with the military. So he was hoping that he would be good mentally. When he arrived at my house, he seemed very intense and out of sorts. He was pacing in my living room. He looked stressed out. He was very red in the face, and he started breathing heavily, like he was having a panic attack. I told him to sit down. He sat on my couch. I put my hand on his chest and kind of started rubbing it. I told him just to breathe. He started calming down, and I gave him a hug. He pulled me in closer and nuzzled his head into my neck. Then he started kissing my neck. I felt like it was in a delicate state. So I was like, he was in a delicate state. So I was trying to be gentle. I told him, Tim, you're okay. It's okay. He said, no, this is what I want. I said, it's not what you want. This is not what you want. I stood up and sat on the couch on the other side of him. He came over and kneeled in front of me and asked if I believed if we came back reincarnated as other people in different lifetimes. I told him that I had never thought about that before, and he said he did. He believed that he and I had been buried in a different life, that this is why he was so physically attracted to me and emotionally attached to me. He asked me if Catherine had ever died, or if they were to get divorced, if he thought we would get married. I wasn't really saying anything. I was in shock and a little bit nervous about what he was saying to me and what state he was in. I asked him what was going on and what was going through his head, and he was still kneeling in front of me and pulled me closer. He put his hands underneath my shirt in the back and started pulling my shirt up. About a month before that, I had a boob job, so I told him to stop. Tim, that hurts. Trigger warning. He said, I'll be careful. I still did not have a lot of strength. I was nervous. I didn't want to hurt myself, but I did not want to hurt him to hurt me. I was really nervous about the situation for many reasons. I was trembling. I asked him multiple times to stop. He kept saying to me to trust me. You can just trust me right now. All I could think to say was just stop and ask him what's going on. And he still had his hands underneath my shirt and pulled it off the top of my head. He said, I just want to see. I just want to see. At this point, he unclipped the back of my bra. I'm trying to get up off the couch. I told him that it was hurting me. I wanted to get up. He was standing over me, so I'm having a hard time standing up. I turned over on my stomach, and finally stand up. As I'm standing up, he takes his shirt off and grabs me and just hugs me. He said, I just need to feel you. I just need to be skin to skin. I'm honestly terrified. I'm not sure what to do. I felt scared, nervous. I said, Tim, this isn't you. He yelled a little bit and he said, I don't even know who I am. Nothing feels like me. So I just kept saying, Tim, you're okay. You're okay. I tried to kind of back away as I was saying that. I thought maybe he was going to put his shirt on again, but instead he started following me. I started walking towards my front door, still with my shirt and bra off. He started telling me he knows that I want him. He knows that I can feel it too. He starts undoing his pants and he takes off his belt. I'm backing up against my stairs, and before I can even get a few steps up, he grabs me and pushes himself on top of me, so I'm laying against the stairs. He pulls down my pants, maybe to the knees or calves. Again, trigger warning. I squeezed my legs together so he couldn't get them off more or open my legs more. I don't remember if his pants were all the way off or just halfway down. He starts grinding on me. I just remember squeezing my legs closed tight as I could. He starts telling me how beautiful I am. I'm starting to feel like I'm going to freeze up. I'm very trapped. I tried to get him to look at me in the face. He wouldn't. He just kept almost talking to himself like he was talking himself into whatever mad state he was in. Finally, when he did look me in the face, I said, Tim, you don't want to do this. Please, Tim. He stood up, zipped up his pants, grabbed his shirt, and walked out my front door. I'm not even sure if at first I thought I was sexually assaulted. I think that I still felt bad for him. I remember doing if I had just had an affair. I remember thinking, what did I do wrong? What was I doing to make him think that I wanted to do that? Hold on, y'all.
Little one's throwing
Sorry, y'all. Gotta go get a kid. Okay. Kenzie's going to get her. I'm good. Everybody okay? Trigger warning. I know this is really heavy, y'all. This is extremely heavy. So, bye, Cats P. I hope everybody's. This is hard to read through. I'll be honest. It's really hard to read through. Oh, Dark Horse, I'm okay. Are you okay? I know we have a lot of victims in our chat right now, so as long as you are okay. It's important. I can get through this and read this. This is important. Victim statements are important. This man and his friends need to be known for what they have done to so many people. There's a purpose in reading these victims' words. They need to be heard. Okay. We're going to continue on, y'all. Up grabbed his shirt and walked out my door. I'm not even sure if, yeah, okay. I'm going to read that again, though. Up grabbed his shirt and walked out my front door. I'm not even sure if at first I thought that I was sexually assaulted. I think that I still felt bad for him. I remember wondering if I just had an affair. I remember thinking, what did I do wrong? What was I doing to make him think that I wanted to do that? I started questioning myself if it even happened. I started feeling really sick a lot. I started feeling really sick a lot. I was sad a lot. And then my dad died a couple weeks later, and I don't think that I could think about it anymore. I think anytime it popped into my mind, I would just push it away. I had this self-doubt that was always there because I felt very unsure of what had happened. Why did it happen? I almost refused to think about it until I ran into him back in June of 2023 at the CEO Fight Nights up in Salt Lake. I remember looking at him and feeling sadness, but I could not understand the look on his face of terror when he saw me. He looked mortified. I couldn't figure it out, and I couldn't stop thinking about it for weeks after. But anytime I would try to think about it, I kept having weird flashes, and I would get really sick again, really, really sick. Then The Sound of Freedom started coming out for his movie. Tim is all over the news. People everywhere were talking about him. What an amazing guy he is. I start remembering things even from our trainings, and I start getting flashes of that night. And it wasn't until my friend Jamie Means and Ryan Means, who are friends with BC, who worked with OUR, asked me if I wanted to talk to BC. Jamie and Ryan told me that a while ago they told BC some inappropriate things had happened to me with Tim, and that she wanted to talk to me, and that she had been talking to some lawyers because inappropriate things had been happening to other women. I just started crying. I had no idea why. During the next couple of weeks, I looked at BC's number. I was afraid to call her. I've known BC for quite a few years. We have just seen each other at different things for mutual friends and the means. Friends, for mutual friends, the means. All I know is that my heart and my body were not okay, and I had to figure out what I had been hiding from myself. I wasn't totally sure why. I just knew in my heart that something had happened. My body and mind weren't letting me go there. And I was talking to BC and started telling her what had happened. And she said, "Well, you were sexually assaulted." I think I was not even in the normal state of mind as I was talking to her, and she told me that. I got off the phone and every little thing came back to me. And even then, it took me quite a few days to really understand what happened and where my mind was at the time of the assault and why I was thinking the way I was. Now, looking back on my life, ever since I've met Tim and seen what it's done to me. I lost my job at the end of May 2022. I've been really sick on and off. I haven't been able to keep my clients like I have my whole 20 years of doing hair. I haven't been functioning on a normal level. I have learned to block things out the last couple of years. If I feel scared or threatened, I will just block and pretend everything is fine. Then I go home by myself and fall apart. I can pull myself together for maybe a month, and then I fall again. I know that I don't want this to happen to other people. I know that I would like to get help so that I can move on with my life and recover from what's been happening. Okay, that was the 5th. That was the last one. I guess we got through 4 of them the other day. I don't even have the words to say right now. I literally like. So we read WWs the other day. Let me just verify that I got all of them in here. Okay, we got WWs. Hopefully everybody is okay. We got DMs. Okay, we got WW DMs. This is just beyond. Did we read MKs? Yeah, we did. Oh, MKs was shorter. Okay. And then HDT. All right, we got them all on this one. I don't even know what to say about this. How are you guys all doing? I can't imagine how these ladies are doing. I hope they feel validated and heard the more that keeps coming out about him, and that they don't feel that they did anything wrong because it's not their fault. He, in my opinion, victimized them. Again, this is all alleged because, yes, it's just a civil lawsuit at this point in time. But I don't know about you guys, but I really feel speechless after this. Like, it is really hard to, it's really hard to even, let me share this one now. Okay. And here's the second one that we have to go through. So this is the second one that's been filed. It's from AA and FT. This is the second lawsuit that was filed the day after the first one. And I'm going to do these on a separate one because these statements are probably, I read through them myself and I ended up in tears the first time. So I'm trying to desensitize myself to some of this because it is hard to read this stuff and not like emotionally break down when you read this. I don't know. That's just me. I wear my heart on my sleeve. And even though I don't know these people, you don't have to know these people to realize what has happened and how he used his position of power and authority. I can't even understand it. I'm glad I don't understand it. I'm glad I don't understand that piece of it. But I also don't understand how he was led to be made into a hero. Meanwhile, so many people knew that women were being victimized by him and OUR. And OUR absolutely is complacent in this because they didn't do anything. Exactly, Cash. Exactly. And I think anybody that's been a victim of sexual assault or anything, like, you connect to other people's stories because the self-doubt, questioning yourself, trying to talk yourself into you're the crazy one, you're the one that you put yourself in this situation, especially with a man like that who is threatening to destroy them. And, he's being claimed to be this hero all over the media, and especially in Utah. Like, I can't imagine, and I don't want to imagine how terrifying that is for them. Horrifying to say the least. And that's just the first ones that have came out. It really makes me angry too that they did not step in. Like, they knew he was going to strip clubs and they did nothing to protect these operators or his couples that he was training for this couples roost. They did nothing to protect them. Yeah, and I think it's even more impactful too that these are LDS members. These are LDS members, and him using the whole like patriarchal blessing and the priesthood blessings and the blessing that he got from President Ballard and stuff. Like, that is I'm sure they questioned everything they always thought they knew. Yeah, dark horse, I can see that. Hey, Shopaholic. All right, y'all, we're going to end this one. Do you guys want to do the second one today? We can start the second one if you guys are up for it. Kenzie went to grab the little ones. One of them's sick. She was so excited too because she got to go on a field trip today. But if you guys want to, if it's not too heavy, if everybody's okay with it, we'll start the second lawsuit and at least get through the opening pages of the lawsuit and go through that. I think would be good. Get these all, because these need to be out there. In my opinion, these ladies and these people deserve to have their voices heard. Abso-freaking-lutely deserve to have their voices heard. So we could come back in a little bit. I just need to take a break for a minute and do the first 32 pages if you're okay. Okay, let's do it. Let's do that then. I'm going to take a short break, probably eat something, get the cat hair off my face because Keke. And then we will get through the first 32 pages, and then we will, part 4, we will do the statements of everything. I'm okay if you're okay. Yep. We're going to get through this together because I think this is where victims can help other victims. We can empower other women to take their power back. And this is why it's so impactful that people share their stories, because victims deserve a voice. However, unfortunately, too, Tim had himself set up to where he had built-in excuses and things. It's just gross. It is gross. Like, he used every manipulation tactic on these women, in my opinion, again, just from reading through that. Yep, dark horses. I think it gives us some sort of like, it's really heavy, you know, I don't know. I feel like it helps give other victims voices, you know, highlighting and elevating their voices. Sometimes that's all we can do. And standing in solidarity with the victims is a huge thing, because everybody stood in solidarity with Tim's fake stories that he told about his career for years. So why aren't we giving the victims that much credit? Why aren't we giving the victims that he hand selected? So these aren't women he's picking up off the street. These are hand selected, intelligent, professional, amazing human beings, educated, spiritual, like all of it. It's just crazy to me. All right, y'all, I'm going to head out, and then, yeah, absolutely, Cash. It is. Thank you guys for all joining me. Thank you, Quirky. Oh, Marcy, I'm sorry. Sorry, it's wearing off. Okay, y'all, give me, I'll set up another one. It'll probably be, let me get my little one home and make sure she's doing okay. And then it'll probably be like 3:30-ish, maybe in about an hour, 3:30 or 4 o'clock. And then we'll do the next segment of this, because it needs to be known. This needs to be out there. People need to talk about this. These victims need to be heard. All right. See you guys in a little bit. Thank you all. Please go decompress. Remember to take care of yourselves too. If this is too heavy for you, I totally understand and do not blame you whatsoever. And those of you that are sitting through it and reading or going through it with us, I appreciate you. We are elevating victims' voices.